Right now, as you're hearing these words, there's a war happening inside your skull. Thoughts are firing in every direction. Some of them are whispers, some are screams, doubts about whether you're good enough, worries about what might go wrong tomorrow, regrets about what you said yesterday. And the worst part? You can't see the enemy. You can't point to it, because the enemy is invisible and it lives inside your own mind. Most people will tell you to think positive. Just be happy. Just let it go. But if it were that simple, you wouldn't be here right now looking for answers. You've probably tried to push the thoughts away. You've tried to ignore them. Maybe you've even tried to fight them head on. And what happened? They came back stronger. Because here's what nobody tells you. You can't win a war by pretending it isn't happening. Over 2,000 years ago in ancient Rome and Greece, there were men who faced the same battle you're facing right now. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the world, wrote in his private journals about anxiety and fear. Seneca, one of the richest men alive, confessed his struggles with anger and dread. Epictetus, who was born a slave and knew suffering most of us can't imagine, spoke openly about despair. These weren't weak men. They were warriors, leaders, survivors, and yet they battled their own minds just like you do. But they discovered something that changed everything. They realized that while you can't stop thoughts from entering your mind, you absolutely can stop those thoughts from controlling your life. They developed a philosophy, a practical system of mental training that we now call Stoicism. And it wasn't designed for classrooms or universities. It was designed for the battlefield of everyday life, for people who were hurting, struggling, and trying to find peace in a chaotic world. This isn't going to be another motivational speech that makes you feel good for 5 minutes and then leaves you exactly where you started. This is about giving you actual tools, real practices that the Stoics used when they were facing their darkest moments. So if you're exhausted from fighting yourself, if you're tired of waking up with that weight on your chest, if you want to finally understand how to take control of your own mind, then stay with me. Because what I'm about to share with you has the power to change everything. Let me start with the most important insight that Stoicism offers. It's simple, but it cuts right to the heart of why you suffer. You are not your thoughts. Read that again. You are not your thoughts. Now, this probably sounds strange because we've been conditioned to believe that every thought we have is somehow us. When a thought says, "I'm worthless," we believe that's our identity. When a thought says, "I'm going to fail," we accept it as prophecy. When a thought says, "Nobody really likes me," we treat it as a fact. But think about this for a moment. How many thoughts pass through your mind in a single day? Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Some of them are random, some are bizarre. Some contradict each other completely. If all of those thoughts were you, if they all represented your true self, then you'd be a completely different person every 5 minutes. You'd have no stable identity at all. The Stoics understood something profound. They understood that consciousness has 2 layers. There's the layer where thoughts appear like waves on the surface of the ocean, and then there's the deeper layer, the part of you that watches those thoughts happen. That deeper part, that awareness, that's the real you. Marcus Aurelius called it the inner citadel. It's the part of you that can never be touched by external events, by other people's opinions, or even by your own chaotic thinking. Imagine you're sitting in a movie theater watching a film. One of the characters on screen is panicking, making terrible decisions, spiraling into anxiety. You can see so clearly what they should do differently. Why? Because you're not inside their head. You're observing from a distance. You have perspective. Now here's the revelation. That same distance exists within you right now. There's the part of you experiencing thoughts and emotions, and there's the part watching it all happen, the part that's aware. And that aware part? It's completely calm. It always has been. It's just been buried under layers of identification with every passing thought. So when a negative thought appears, something like, "I always mess everything up," you have a choice. You can grab onto that thought, merge with it, let it become your identity. Or you can simply notice it. You can observe it the way you'd observe a cloud passing in the sky. Oh, there's a thought about messing up. Interesting. The thought doesn't disappear, but it loses its power over you, because you've created space between you and it. This is the first practice. When negativity strikes, don't fight it. Don't push it away. Don't pretend it's not there. Just notice it. Say to yourself, silently or even out loud, I'm noticing thoughts about failure right now. Not, I am a failure, but I'm noticing thoughts about failure. Feel the difference in those words? In the first version, you are the thought. In the second version, you're the observer of the thought. That tiny linguistic shift creates a canyon of difference in your experience. Now, once you understand that you're not your thoughts, the next question becomes, what do you actually have control over? And this is where the Stoics offered one of the most liberating concepts in all of philosophy. Epictetus taught something called the Dichotomy of Control. It sounds complicated, but it's beautifully simple. He said there are things in life that are up to you, and there are things that are not up to you. Your peace of mind, your freedom, your happiness, all of it depends on understanding which is which. Think about all the things that keep you up at night. Someone didn't text you back. You didn't get the job you wanted. People are talking about you behind your back. Your body isn't perfect. You made a mistake 5 years ago. Here's what the Stoics would ask you. Are any of those things actually within your control right now? Not whether you wish they were different, but right now, in this present moment, can you control them? You cannot control what other people think about you. You can't control whether they respond to your messages. You can't go back and change what you said last week. You can't force opportunities to appear. You can't control how your body ages or how your genetics work. And yet, so much of your mental energy, maybe most of it, goes toward trying to control these things. You replay conversations, trying to change what already happened. You obsess over someone's opinion, trying to manipulate what they think. You worry about the future, trying to guarantee outcomes that are fundamentally uncertain. The Stoics would tell you this is insanity. Not because you're a bad person, but because you're pouring your precious energy into a broken bucket. It will never hold water. So what can you control? You can control your attention. Right now, you're choosing where to place your focus. You can control your interpretations. You decide what meaning you give to events. You can control your effort and your attitude, and you can control your next action. That's it. That's your domain of power. And here's what's incredible. That domain is enough. It's more than enough. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable and start mastering what's actually within your power, everything shifts. Suddenly, you're not a victim of circumstances anymore. You're not at the mercy of other people's choices. You're the author of your own experience. So here's your new practice. Every single time you feel anxiety rising, every time stress starts to build, pause and ask yourself one question. Is this within my control? Be ruthlessly honest. If the answer is no, then your job is to practice acceptance. Not fake positivity, not pretending you like it, just acceptance of what is. If the answer is yes, if it is within your control, then stop worrying and start acting. Take the next small step. Make the decision. Do the thing. But don't waste one more second of your life trying to control what was never yours to control in the first place. Now let's talk about something that might be the root of more suffering than anything else. Your mind is a storytelling machine. Every moment of every day, it's creating narratives, spinning interpretations, building entire worlds out of thin air. And most of the stories it tells are fiction disguised as fact. Someone looks at you with a neutral expression. Your mind immediately writes a story. They don't like me. They think I'm annoying. I must have done something wrong. But what actually happened? They looked at you. That's the fact. Everything else is interpretation. Or you make a small mistake at work. The fact is you made one error, but your mind spins it into an epic tragedy. I always mess up. I'm incompetent. Everyone's going to think I'm a failure. I'll probably get fired. Do you see what's happening? You're not responding to reality. You're responding to the story your mind created about reality. And that story, 9 times out of 10, is catastrophically worse than what's actually true. The Stoics were obsessed with this distinction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Your estimate, your interpretation, your story. That's where the suffering lives. Not in the events themselves, but in the meaning you assign to them. So what do you do about this? You become a detective of your own mind. When a negative thought grabs you, when you feel that familiar spiral starting, stop and interrogate it like you're cross-examining a witness in court. Take the thought and write it down if you can. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Now ask, is this absolutely 100% provably true? Not, does it feel true? Not, might it be true? But is it definitely, objectively true? Usually the answer is no. Then ask, what evidence do I have that contradicts this thought? Force yourself to find examples that disprove the story your mind is telling. They're almost always there, but your negative thinking has blinded you to them. Then ask this powerful question: would I say this to someone I love? Imagine your best friend came to you and said the exact words you're thinking about yourself. Would you agree with them? Would you pile on and make them feel worse? Or would you offer perspective, compassion, understanding? Why is it that you can be so kind to others but so brutal to yourself? And finally ask, will this matter in 5 years? This question has a way of dissolving unnecessary anxiety, because most of what tortures you today will be completely forgotten in a few months, let alone years. Your brain is designed to spot threats and magnify them. It's trying to protect you. But in the modern world, it often mistakes minor inconveniences for life or death emergencies. When you put your thoughts through this examination, something remarkable happens. They lose their grip on you. That thought that felt like an undeniable truth starts to look more like what it actually is: a story, a hypothesis, a possibility, but not a certainty. And once you see it as a story, you remember something crucial. You're the author, and authors can rewrite. Now here's something the Stoics understood that modern self-help often ignores. Your mental state isn't just determined by your thoughts. It's deeply connected to your physical state, your environment, the people you surround yourself with. You can have all the wisdom in the world, but if you're exhausted, depleted, and overwhelmed, that wisdom becomes nearly impossible to access. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just a philosopher sitting in a quiet room. He was an emperor dealing with plagues, wars, betrayals, endless responsibilities, and yet he maintained his practice. How? Because he understood that philosophy requires a foundation. You need rest. You need nourishment. You need movement. You need silence. These aren't luxuries. They're necessities for a healthy mind. Think about the last time your thoughts really spiraled out of control. Were you well rested? Had you eaten properly? Had you spent time outside, away from screens? Had you moved your body? Or were you running on empty, overstimulated, isolated, and exhausted? Because here's a truth that might sting a little. Sometimes you don't have a thinking problem. You have a depletion problem. Your nervous system has limits. Your brain needs certain conditions to function well. And when those conditions aren't met, negative thinking multiplies exponentially. Everything feels harder. Small problems become crises. Neutral events seem threatening. You're not thinking clearly because you don't have the energy to think clearly. So before you dive deeper into philosophical practices, check in with the basics. When did you last sleep a full night? Are you eating food that nourishes your body or food that numbs your feelings? Have you stepped outside today? Have you had a conversation that actually mattered? Or have you been drowning in shallow digital noise? Have you moved your body in a way that feels good? Sometimes the most stoic thing you can do is not push harder. It's rest. It's putting down the phone and sitting in silence. It's going to bed early. It's taking a walk with no destination. You can't think your way out of exhaustion. And the Stoics knew this. They practiced moderation, simplicity, routine, not because they were boring, but because they understood that external chaos creates internal chaos. And speaking of external chaos, let's talk about your environment, the people you spend time with, the content you consume, the spaces you occupy. All of it is programming your mind whether you realize it or not. Seneca warned his students, associate with people who will make a better person of you. This wasn't just friendly advice. It was a fundamental principle of mental health. Your brain is incredibly impressionable. It mimics what it's exposed to. If you're constantly around people who complain without taking action, who gossip and tear others down, who see themselves as victims of circumstances, guess what your internal dialogue starts to sound like? You absorb their worldview, not because you're weak, but because that's how human psychology works. The same goes for what you consume digitally. If your social media feed is full of outrage, comparison, and carefully curated highlight reels of other people's lives, your mind starts living there. You begin to see the world through that lens. Everything becomes a competition. Everyone seems to be doing better than you. The algorithm feeds you content that triggers strong emotions because that keeps you scrolling, and slowly, subtly, your baseline mental state shifts toward anxiety and inadequacy. The Stoics lived simply on purpose. They cleared away clutter, both physical and mental. They chose their companions carefully. They created environments that supported clarity rather than chaos. So do an honest audit of your life right now. Who are you spending the most time with? Do they lift you up or drain you? Do they encourage growth or keep you stuck? And this isn't about being selfish or abandoning people. It's about recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot help anyone if you're drowning. Look at what you're consuming. The news, the social media, the videos, the music. Is it helping you become who you want to be? Or is it slowly eroding your peace? You don't have to quit everything, but you do have to be intentional. Curate your inputs like your mental health depends on it, because it does. And look at your physical space. Is your room a disaster? Is your desk buried under chaos? The Stoics weren't minimalists for aesthetic reasons. They understood that external order supports internal order. When everything around you is scattered, your mind mirrors that scattering. Try cleaning one space, just one. Make your bed, clear your desk, organize one drawer. Notice how your mind feels different in that space. Now let me share something that might sound counterintuitive. One of the most powerful tools against negative thinking isn't philosophy at all. It's gratitude. And I don't mean the fluffy, toxic positivity version where you pretend everything is wonderful. I mean real, grounded gratitude that acknowledges difficulty while also recognizing what remains. Here's why gratitude works. Negative thinking operates through selective attention. Your mind zooms in on everything that's wrong, everything that's missing, everything that hurts. And it makes that your entire reality. It's like holding a small stone right in front of your eyes and declaring that the stone is the whole world. Gratitude doesn't deny the stone. It just reminds you to lower your hand so you can see everything else that exists. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has little, but he who desires more, that is poor." Your mind, left unchecked, will always find something to want, something to fear losing, something that's not good enough. That's its default mode. But gratitude is a practice of remembering what's actually here, right now, in this moment. Not what could be here. Not what should be here. What is here? Every night before you sleep, write down 3 things. Just 3. One thing your body did for you today. Maybe your legs carried you somewhere. Maybe your hands created something. Maybe your heart just kept beating without you having to think about it. One small moment you enjoyed. A good meal, a laugh, a warm shower, sunlight on your face. It doesn't have to be profound. Small moments count. And one challenge you faced that taught you something. Even if the day was hard, especially if the day was hard, what did it show you? What did you learn about yourself? This isn't about pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about restoring proportion. Because when you're stuck in negative thinking, proportion is the first thing you lose. Everything feels enormous. Everything feels permanent. Everything feels hopeless. Gratitude is the practice of zooming out and seeing the fuller picture. Yes, this is hard. And also, look at what's still standing. Look at what you still have. Look at what you've survived before. Let me bring all of this together now. You will not eliminate negative thoughts. That's not the goal, and it's not realistic. The goal is to change your relationship with those thoughts, to stop letting them dictate your life. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, kept personal journals his entire adult life. Page after page of reminders to himself, encouragements, philosophical principles. Why? Because even emperors need daily practice. Even the wisest people forget and need to remember again. This isn't something you master once and then it's done. It's something you practice every single day for the rest of your life. Some days you'll catch your negative thoughts early and redirect them with ease. Other days they'll spiral and you'll feel like you've made no progress at all. That's being human. What matters is that you keep returning to the practice. You keep showing up for yourself. You observe your thoughts instead of becoming them. You accept what you cannot change and act on what you can. You question the stories your mind tells instead of believing them automatically. You rest when you're depleted instead of pushing through until you break. You curate your environment and protect your mental space. You practice gratitude not as a denial of pain, but as a reminder of what remains. The ancient Stoics faced wars, plagues, betrayals, exile, poverty, and loss. They lived in times far more uncertain and dangerous than ours. And yet, they found peace. Not because their lives were easy, but because they mastered the one territory they truly controlled: their own minds, their own responses, their own inner citadel. You can do the same. Not someday, not when conditions are perfect. Right now, today, in this moment, one thought at a time, one breath at a time, one choice at a time. The war in your mind doesn't end, but you can learn to fight it wisely. You can learn to win more battles than you lose. And slowly, day by day, you can build something that no circumstance can take from you. Inner freedom, inner strength, inner peace. Your mind is your kingdom. Defend it like your life depends on it. Because it does.